it was the busiest tourism season ever, with just over 73,200 cruise ship passengers and a number of land-based tourists visiting the islands this year. The 2023-24 season saw just over 1,000 passengers more than 2019-20, showing a full recovery after the pandemic, a year earlier than expected. The 2023-24 tourism season faced a number of challenges, including the avian flu outbreak and multiple cruise ship clash days. During the end of the season tourism meeting, cruise ship clash days were highlighted as a major concern for local tourism businesses. Local tour operators said that they were oversubscribed during clash days, with many having to turn away customers. The hospitality sector voiced their concerns, saying that they were fully booked and couldn't exceed venue capacity during clash days. During the meeting, it was suggested that spreading out the cruise ship arrivals throughout the week could create new career opportunities. Tourism jobs could go from seasonal part-time positions to full-time roles.
It would be nicer, I think, if we could get the boats to spread themselves out a little bit. It would mean probably a slightly different way in which we operate, simply because if you had, say, a boat on every day, drivers who took their holiday time would not have enough holiday time to get them right through the season to drive. Now, that could mean there could be people out there who could actually take on other work, give up their day job, and sort of thing go down that road. So we could see a change in the way, the dynamics of how people behave and structure their lives. And of course, it would also mean if they were in full-time employment and left that, it could have a knock-on effect with finding people to infill behind them.
The issue of clash days still seems far from being resolved, with 4 huge clash days already planned for the next tourism season. And considering that cruise ship operators require a 2-year notice period to adapt their schedules, solving the clash day issue will not be quick.
Absolutely no decision made on what might be put forward as a conclusion from the tourist board as yet. It is very, very complex, but hopefully, I keep saying the end of next month, I'm away until the end of this month, so certainly not before the middle of next month. I take basically the booking for the cruise ships at the moment, so when they make a booking, I make the company aware that there's already another vessel booked in. The agents also take it up at that point and try and see if there's any movement to try and move them either a day earlier or a day later. And sometimes it's not always possible because when they book there might already be another vessel booked in the next day. But it's certainly something we're working on, and we are trying to alleviate as many as possible.
But apart from putting pressure on tourism sector businesses, clash days also cause a risk to local wildlife. This season saw large numbers of tourists visiting Gypsy Cove and York Bay before the Environment Department were able to impose distance to wildlife restrictions. Tourists were seen approaching the Gentoo penguin colony at York Bay too closely, causing disruption to the wildlife. Signs and rope barriers along the beach are now in place. However, to prevent further disruptions, regulations for next season are being discussed.
The Environment Department have the management of Gypsy Cove and York Bay, but obviously as a tourism industry we have a huge interest in that area because for many that's the only place they'll get to see when they come ashore particularly. So we're looking at ways where that might be better managed for next season. We suggested that for every 12 passengers that somebody might shuttle down there, then they'd have to have at least one person on the ground. So for instance, if we had a company with 1 4x4, when they take their third rundown of 4 people, they'd either have to bring somebody back or stay with them or have somebody on the ground down there. And hopefully that'll improve things. I say, we are still getting checked, our licence to operate checked out legally to make sure that we're doing things with we're allowed to do, and we're working with the Environment Department to make it better. It is going to be difficult because obviously there's a labour shortage, so and I do realise that particularly for some of the companies who operate coaches, and that having to find 4 people if they fill that coach is going to be a challenge. I do hope that they find a way around that, and as for how it'll work, obviously the wardens that are in place down there, they'll keep an eye on it, but I think that it's a quality assurance for our guests, so we'd hope that it'll self-police in the end.
Concerns were raised on this new rule, with tourism businesses highlighting that hiring additional tour guides could be expensive and could put pressure on small individual tour providers. But this is not the only financial challenge tourism businesses may face next season. It is predicted that the avian flu outbreak will be worse and could cause the closure of more tourism attractions. FIG provided some financial support to the tourism sector to help alleviate financial losses from closures, but if the spread of bird flu increases more rapidly next year, how will government support the tourism sector?
The financial assistance that was put in was initially for this season only, so it'll have to come back 2 members to be signed off for another season. Now, from my point of view, I think it's something we should do, and I can't honestly see members saying that they won't, because we have to, very much like COVID, make sure that the tourism operators can keep going and survive the loss of income, so that they're ready for the season after.
Tourism is one of the main industries on the islands, so it is crucial to keep the industry improving to support local economy. And as we saw a full recovery after the pandemic and the busiest ever tourism season this year, it seems clear that some regulations and limitations on daily visitors are required to benefit both the wildlife and local tourism businesses.